At this time, I'd like to call the meeting of the Smithfield Town Council to order. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. To start with, I'm going to ask Councilman David Barber to lead us in the invocation, followed by the pledge. All rise.
Let's pray. Lord, I thank you so much for the opportunity we have that we can come and we can, Lord, take care of the business of the town of Smithfield. I thank you, Lord, for all of those that are involved, for all the councilmen, for all the citizens that show up. I thank you, Lord, for all the things you do for us here in this town that makes this town a great town. I pray now, Lord, that you guide us as we make the decisions, that it be the right decisions for everybody, regardless who they might be. For us in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please face the flag. I pledge
Allegiance
to the flag
of
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, to start the evening off, we have presentation, which is the oath of office for a new police officer. Excuse me.
Approve the agenda.
Oh, I apologize. I got off on the wrong thing, Councilman Lee.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd make a action that we add the two considerations to consent agenda that's at present. And I also would like to ask that we move consent item number 6 to business item number 3.
6. Okay.
Actually, it may be business item number 4. Yeah.
4, 6.
Consent number 6 to the next business item. How about that?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda as amended.
Anything
I second. We move.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now we will move on to the administering of oath to the new police officer.
Actually, number 4. Because there's 3 items there. 1, 2, 3, this would be number 4. No big deal.
Mar, thank you, first of all, before we get started, for your commitment to the town. So, right now, Amara, please repeat after me. I, Amara Miller, the undersigned, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will faithfully and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, that I will be alert and vigilant to enforce the criminal laws of this state, that I will not be influenced in any manner on account of personal bias or prejudice, and that I will faithfully and impartially execute the duties of my office as a law enforcement officer according to my skill, abilities, and judgment. So help me God. Thank you. Now, at this time, I would like to ask Kaylee Stavlis to come up. Kaylee is the first Miss Teen Smithfield, and if you would please tell us a little bit about that title and your affiliation with the Miss USA.
Yes, so I'm so excited to be the first Miss Smithfield's teen for the Miss America organization. I'll be representing Smithfield in June for the Miss America Teen pageant. I'm so excited to be there and competing for Miss North Carolina Teen. For the Miss America organization, you have to have a community service initiative. So that's something that you're passionate about and you would like to promote as a title holder. So for mine, I started my own nonprofit called NextGen CEO. So I'm going into schools, and with my student curriculum, I'm empowering the next generation of diverse entrepreneurs. So I've always been an entrepreneur, I'm just trying to promote that. So I have talked to the Recreation Center, and they're willing to host a business fair on May 13th. So if anybody is wondering more about that or wanting to attend or get more information, I can give you all my business card and talk more about it. So I'm so excited to meet all of you guys.
All right, thank you so much, and
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the first public hearing, which is MSD public hearing and contract approval. This is not a quasi-judicial hearing, therefore no one will need to be sworn in. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. This item is on the agenda because our contract, the town's contract with Downtown Smithfield Development Corporation, DSDC, has expired, so the contract is required to be renewed. In order to renew a contract for this service, there are several things that have to happen by statute. First thing that had to happen was we had to solicit information from residents and property owners as for the need of the service and what it should entail. And we did accomplish that by emailing business and property owners downtown, posting information on a social media outlet, and also on our website. We accepted phone calls, emails, and walk-in comments from our citizens. The next thing we had to do is advertise for a bid process. We did put out a request for proposals in the Johnstonian News on January 23rd. In response to that request for proposal, we received only one proposal from Downtown Smithfield Development Corporation. Following that, we have to have a public hearing, which is why we are here tonight. But prior to that, we had to advertise twice in the Johnstonian News, once on February 22nd and once on March 1st. Advertising this public hearing, so anyone who wanted to come and make comment that they could. On pages 16 through 21, you have a copy of the draft contract that staff is recommending with Downtown Smithfield Development Corporation. It is a 3-year, 3-month contract. This will align us when it expires with the town's fiscal year ending June 30th of 2026. I'll entertain any questions in regards to any of this from the council, Mr. Mayor, but that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. At this time, questions for the manager?
Mayor Pro Tem, I have a few comments about this topic. I'm thankful for the downtown development and their efforts. However, looking through some of the comments and some feedback from locals, there's been some concerns identified. My question is, in what ways can we challenge the downtown development to make those improvements?
The DSDC board has had conversations about just that topic, and if the council sees its way clear to approve the contract offer tonight, I think it's the intent of DSDC to try to have some type of meeting with council members that would be non-quorum size group and listen to what those issues are so that they can create an action plan on how best to deal with them. I know Sarah's here and representing DSDC tonight. I'm sure she'd be willing to answer any questions along that line as well.
And is it standard procedure for it to be a 3-year contract?
This is only our second contract. The contract by statute can be no longer than 5 years. The last contract was 5 years. Because of some of the comments that I received and some of the discussions I've had with the council, we thought it prudent to do a lesser contract this time, give them ample time to try to improve in the areas that we think need to be improved upon, but yet not provide so much time that we have to wait if things aren't going the way we'd like to see them go.
Thank you, Manager.
So I have a question, Manager Scott. So are you now serving on that board?
I am.
Which is also in addition, the change.
Yes, that's correct.
Any other questions from the council? All right, if not, at this time, we'll take any comments from any of those in attendance tonight. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, Mr. Manager, staff. My name is Sarah Edwards. I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Smithfield Development Corporation. To answer your question, Councilman Scott, as Mr. Scott shared, the DSTC would like to meet with some of the council members to discuss some of the concerns raised in the feedback, as well as making sure that we're on the same page with regard to the DSTC's responsibilities. There are some other entities that are working in some of the same space, so to try to better define those and make sure that we're all working collaboratively and toward the same goals is definitely important to the DSTC. And I think you'll see some projects hopefully pretty quickly, provided I can get some obstacles overcome that are going to start making a difference in some of the visual appearance of downtown and it being pedestrian friendly. But we would certainly welcome that opportunity to meet and discuss further with the council. And, you know, there is an opportunity for business owners to approach the DSTC with concerns and questions and to be part of the change that's happening downtown through our committees and both on the board itself. So if y'all have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
How comfortable do you feel with the 3-year contract? Or would you speak on behalf of the downtown development?
Sure. You know, I think obviously for stability purposes, a 5-year contract would be better, just in terms of allowing us to kind of ensure we can start programs and see them to completion. For example, we have signed a letter of engagement with a firm to do a downtown master plan, as was identified, or as was an identified priority in the town's growth management and transportation plans. And so that is not an overnight process. To get the plan itself done is easily a 9-month process. So then for us to be able to begin implementing even some of the near-term action items from that, we'll go into years 2 and 3. And some of the long-term top projects are things that are going to take more like 10 years and even more, depending on the partners that we need to work with sometimes. But a 3-year contract, I think, provides us sufficient stability to do what we need to do and to take on some of those short-term but also mid-range projects.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? If not,
I move we close the public hearing.
second. All in favor?
Mayor Pro Tem, before we take action on this item, I would like to publicly ask the manager, you know, again, thinking about it from a citizen's perspective and what is best for our town, I'm curious, what options have you explored besides having this contract?
Yes, you have two options. The option of hiring an outside nonprofit organization to administer the property tax money that is taken in by the downtown district. And the other option is for the town to take on that responsibility itself. So we looked at both issues. DSTC's been a long-standing partner with the town, almost, I believe, since the 1980s, actually. We hate to see that relationship severed this quickly. We'd like to give them a chance to improve in the areas that the council thinks they need to improve in and respond to the requests of that jurisdiction. But the town is prepared to do what it can if the council so desires it to take over this responsibility. It won't be something that is well-planned initially because this came up relatively quickly. But we'll manage it just like we do all other responsibilities with the town.
I think you answered my question. I appreciate that. And I agree that the partnership has been significantly successful for the most part, but the feedback that has been presented is a big concern for me, and I want to make sure that we're doing the best we can with what we have. And I think if the council considers this, I would encourage a 3-year term, just that way we can always renew once we get things better.
Right.
But I would love to see some major improvements. And it's not what I say, it's what the citizens say, and it's what the businesses are saying. And I think that's important. So, but thank you.
Yes, sir.
I would make my comment, it would be that I feel relatively comfortable, given the fact that town manager is now on the board, and therefore if there's some things that, the council feels that's not really going like it should be, or like some input on. I know we communicate with the manager on a regular basis, and so I feel more comfortable. I think we need to provide opportunities to see how that relationship goes, given the additional input. So I think 3 years is a reasonable amount of time to see improvements or see resolutions. And again, like I say, with having Mr. Scott, Manager Scott on there too, I think that's definitely something that would give us opportunities to make progress on.
Any other questions or comments? If not, what is the pleasure?
I make a motion, we approve the 3-year term contract.
Second.
It's actually 3 years and 3 months.
3 years and 3 months contract. Thank you, sir.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. All right. Up next, we have a public hearing, ZA 22-04, the town of Smithfield. Stephen, turn it over to you.
Be with you in a second. All right, so this is a request from the planning staff. It's an update to the stormwater management ordinance. So North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, NCDEQ, updates its local program requirements for stormwater management from time to time. This year, the town is required to resubmit its local program for review, and we've received approval from DEQ. And with that, there is a requirement to update our stormwater management ordinance. Again, the ordinance is an implementation of state rules at the local level. Our local program consists of new development plan review and approval, stormwater control, maintenance, rule enforcement procedures, public education. We contract with CWEP, Clean Water Education Initiative to provide education to the community about stormwater issues. Stormwater system mapping. I just want to point out that the town did get a grant recently to begin a mapping program. And then we do illicit discharge removal
Yeah.
as part of our program.
Hold on 1 second. Apparently, I'm not really on a roll tonight at all. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
I apologize,
No
Stephen.
problem.
Now repeat all that, no.
Please don't.
So I'm going to go over just some of the general changes to the ordinance. It's a very technical document, but I got a comparison here of the current ordinance and then the changes. So current ordinance, single-family projects that disturb less than 1 acre are exempt. Multifamily, commercial, industrial that disturb less than 1 acre of area are exempt. And on the right-hand side, you can see the proposed ordinance changes. Still, if you disturb less than 1 acre, single-family and duplex residentials are exempt. A lot of it is more clarification than real significant change, but the ordinance is I think they've really addressed a lot of maybe the gray areas in the code. Development of individual single-family or duplex residential lots, not part of a larger plan that does not result in greater than 5% built-upon area. So built-upon area is areas that are disturbed and built on a lot. They would be exempt from the ordinance. It kind of goes down with some of the other exemptions if you have any questions. I'm not going to read them all. The big thing is there's a new cumulative built-upon area per parcel of 24%. So if you're under that 24%, typically you're exempt. Okay? There's new treatment standards or clarifications as well. Again, developers, on the new ordinance, developers providing on-site stormwater treatment. So those are the ponds you find on-site for cumulative built-upon area if the project exceeds 24% built-upon area. There's also some low-density, high-density, and other requirements that are related to that. And there's also watershed supply rules that can trigger different standards, which is, it's actually consistent with what we used to do, although the regulations have changed slightly for that. Yeah, I don't have to go into the rest of that, but it's a technical document. Some changes to the nutrient offsets. So we're in the Neuse River Basin. The stormwater ordinance is focused on removing nutrients from our watershed. And so not only are you dealing with a pond, which addresses quantity of stormwater leaving a site, the nutrient controls deal with the quality of that water. You can treat stormwater on site through use of plants and other techniques. Very often, you can buy treatment in the watershed as a whole. You write a check to the watershed, and they'll spend that money on projects in the greater watershed. So that's what this section's about. So there's clarifications on how that works and when that's triggered. They've implemented a new tool for developers to calculate and quantify those requirements. So it's a standardization of how developers will approach stormwater nutrient, essentially. Any questions on this? Okay. One thing kind of interesting that the model ordinance deals with, it's a strengthening of language for stormwater operations and maintenance for homeowners associations. As you probably know, we have a number of homeowners associations in town that are kind of defunct. They've got stormwater ponds that are not really being maintained. So this is really something that the state has recognized and has put some language in their model ordinance for local ordinances to adopt, and so this is something in our ordinance to try to give us a leg up on that problem in the future. Any questions on that?
Who would enforce that?
I'm sorry?
Who would enforce those?
Well, there's an escrow. It's during the development review process, the HOA documents need to have a provision for this escrow, and they have to fund their HOA appropriately, so that at least for some time, they will have the funds to take care of the maintenance that they need to do. So it's an effort to address the funding of maintenance.
Didn't we, and we did this with some conditional zoning and some of the some of the HOAs that we approved. We required them to have something because of this very
Right.
issue here before we had the ordinance. So this really corrects that. We don't have to ask for that anymore because it's built into the
It's a
ordinance.
standard feature of the
Yep. So it doesn't
stormwater
have to be
agreement.
included extra, and the discussion doesn't have to be done because it's already in the form.
That's right. Yep. And so, standard consistency statement, staff believes this is consistent with the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan and other adopted plans, and that the amendment is reasonable in the public interest. Staff is recommending approval. Planning Board also recommended approval. Any questions?
This will be for new construction and all, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
New construction, this is for new construction and all?
Yeah, any new construction that, is over that 24% built upon area typically has to hold back stormwater and/or treat the stormwater before it leaves the site. So this ordinance is really dealing with that, and yes, they would have to construct a pond generally, and sometimes also treat the nutrients on site.
So these ordinances that talks about the 1 acre lots and are exempt and all that stuff, that's for future development, or is that current development? It's ordinances now, so.
I'm sorry, I misunderstand.
Okay, you got on here, so like single-family homes exempt, these things that were exempt, this is about single-family homes, has 1 acre lot, whatever.
Yeah.
Is that new lots that are developed, or is that existing as part of the ordinance now?
New development. It's dealing with new development.
All this only deals with new development, does
Yep,
not deal
new
with.
construction, yep.
Okay, so that's part of the, okay, zoning, okay.
Yeah, existing developments typically exempt unless they, build to the point where they're triggering compliance.
Okay. Anything moving forward after this is approved?
Yeah, well, the current ordinance operates the same way.
Well, I'm sorry.
The current ordinance operates the same way, it's just that some of the standards have been tweaked a little bit and clarified. But that is generally how it's approached currently, is a lot of current development that's already on the ground is exempt, they don't have to do anything. And this is saying if you exceed the 24% built-upon area, even on some of the existing development, you will possibly trigger stormwater.
Okay.
Anything else? Stephen, I did have a question about the escrow for the homeowners association. How is that determined?
I haven't really studied it enough. It's probably will be based on their management plan, and they'll have to provide some sort of estimate of maintenance. That is something we probably need to work through.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, right now, if they don't construct a pond at the time of development approval, we'll often get an engineer's estimate of the cost, and we'll take a performance bond in the amount of 1.25% of the cost of construction. So in this case, the escrow would probably deal with a similar approach for maintenance.
And at some point, this will just be updated to include that formula at a later time?
I think that is probably not going to be in ordinance. It'll probably just be a practice, a best practice.
Anything else?
Only comment I want to make about this, historically, we have suffered a large rain event, and we've got to be more proactive in managing our stormwater. And I'm thankful that we are updating our ordinance, and I know this is just one piece to other things that we have to do, but I understand the concern, but, we've had businesses and residential homes flood, and our sewers and manholes, these things, this is hopefully a proactive strategy to help us realign those processes, is the way I see it. But I thank you, Stephen, for giving us some more information tonight.
Anyone else? If not, anyone in attendance tonight have any questions, comments, concerns on this matter? If not, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve zoning text amendment ZA 22-04, finding the amendment consistent with the Town of Smithfield Comprehensive Growth Plan and other adopted plans, and that the amendment is reasonable and in the public interest.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. All right. Next, we will go on to ZA 23-01, the Town of Smithfield again.
Mayor
And-
Pro Tem, I move we open the public hearing.
I second.
Thank you, Councilman Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Stephen?
I have no presentation for you tonight for this item because it's a very simple ordinance amendment. If you recall, maybe 6 months ago, we increased the heights in the light industrial district. At that time, I didn't bother with the heavy industrial because we really had no heavy industrial land to develop. But as you know, several months ago, we had an applicant who rezoned some land from light industrial to heavy industrial. And at that point, we realized that we hadn't updated that height standard, which is the same for light industry. The standards have really changed for industrial, and developers are looking for that higher height, similar to the Amazon development we have, which is a light industrial project. So this is really just keeping, kind of bringing the heavy industrial district in step with the light industrial district for height, and really to accommodate what might happen at the newly rezoned property. And if you have any questions, so this addresses Article 8, Section 8.11, which is the maximum building height, switching it from 40 to 80 feet within the heavy industrial zoning district.
I think it's a good thing that we have to discuss it because, that shows development and growth, that we have people interested in building larger facilities in your area. So that's a good thing, not a bad thing. So I think, and controlling it, make sure that it's done right is very important.
Mr. Winsman, I have a question. You guys have been working on the airport overlay district. If there's H1, H2 in that territory, would that be an issue?
We'll have to see when a site plan comes in because there is a review procedure for that.
Okay.
And I don't know what height they're proposing,
Okay.
but certainly the airport will review it, and we'll review it.
Okay.
It'll go through the standard process, and any review comments would come back. I'm sure the applicant is aware of the requirements.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else for Stephen at this time? I did have one question. This may not be relevant. I know when we approved one of the more recent hotels, we went to 80-foot plus on that. I had some concern, no, I didn't have concern. I was approached by someone who had some concerns about the radio traffic that the sheriff's department and communications use, about that being a disturbance. It wasn't, obviously, but if this is approved, would it automatically just be up to 80 feet, or would there still be any consideration given for those circumstances?
There's nothing in the ordinance that would trigger any kind of review in that manner. Yeah, I mean, the special use permit process we used to have for height, which we did away with, would provide that opportunity for public comment, but we don't have that currently.
I understand the concern. They have, in Chicago and New York, they have radio systems that work great. I mean, they have great big buildings. I'm sure we can work
Oh, yeah,
around
I'm
that,
sure,
so,
but, I mean, I was asked that question by
actually.
communications.
And this was from the sheriff's department, or?
Someone in communications,
Okay.
Johnson County Communications. It had to do with the other hotel. That, in particular, was in the line of one of their towers, so.
Yeah, it's the first I've heard of it.
Well, anything else from council? If not, anyone in the audience have anything to say, add to this tonight? All right.
Look at my stuff.
All right. If not, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
What is the pleasure?
I move to approve zoning text amendment ZA 23-01, amending Article 8, Section 8.11 to change the maximum building height to 80 feet in the high industrial district, finding the amendment consistent with the Town of Smithfield Comprehensive Growth Plan and other adopted plans, and that the amendment is reasonable and in the public interest.
Thank you. Second, anyone?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. All right. Thank you, Stephen.
You're welcome.
All right, at this time, we will move on to citizens' comments. Anyone having anything to speak on, you will be allowed 3 minutes to do so. Please state your name and address for the board, please. Nothing there. At this time, we will move on to consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the modifications made earlier.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Moving on to business item number 1, consideration and request for approval to adopt Resolution 721-04-2023 to begin the process of closing an alley in the block bordered by Massey, East Johnson, 6th and 7th Streets. Stephen, I will entertain a motion. Hang on. Changing gears here. Stephen.
All right. So this is a request from Olivia Holding, Twin States Farming, Inc., to permanently close an alley in the block bordered by Massey, East Johnson, South 6th and 7th Streets. And you can see here in yellow, on the GIS map, kind of highlighted, is the alley, and that's the issue. Here's an old, I guess, an old plat map that shows the alley.
Which one is it on there, Mr. Winsman?
It's right where it's, I think it's the letter C, right in the middle of the map there.
G.
Is that a G?
Yeah, it's G.
Okay, G. Again, the same. These are exhibits that you have in your packet provided by Bob Spence. And then here's a survey showing the alley. And I want to point out this, this is being requested because if you remember, 2 years ago, you guys approved the Spring Branch Commons residential development. This is the Phase 2 development, and one of the conditions of approval is that this alley be closed because their development is trying to redevelop that portion of the alley. So without the closure, that development can't proceed. So that's where we're at. They need this alley closed to proceed with that development that the council has approved. This is just a summary of the statutes and the process. Tonight, the request is to adopt a resolution of intent to close the public right-of-way and to set a public hearing. That date is not correct, because I think that was the date from when we started this process. The date is April.
April 4th.
April 4th. So the request is to set the date to April 4th. At that time, there'd be a public hearing for anybody to speak on the issue. So typically, once the alley's closed, the land gets reverted back to the property owners on either side. And this is the first step of the closure. And if there's any questions, Michael's here to answer.
When would the the public hearing be, and would the neighbors be, or people affected be notified?
We just said it was April 4th, it'd be the public hearing, and yes, there'd be an advertising following statute.
And we also have to send certified letters.
Certified letters.
The resolution of intent to close the
Yes.
alley.
This is the alley behind Black's Tire Service. That's not the alley.
No, it's the block over.
Oh, it's just a.
There's no
low
physical alley.
Gully-looking area. It looks
Yeah,
like
they're doing
mild
utility
bit.
work out there right now on the adjacent block. It's by Johnson and Massey. There's 2 houses on the block, I believe, 3 houses.
Yeah.
3 current houses on the block. The rest is vacant, used to be an old tobacco warehouse.
There's an alley there.
It's just on the map.
It's more behind the insurance, I think the insurance business on Market Street.
Okay.
So we just know there was an alley back there.
Yeah, there's no physical alley. It either was never built or has long been gone.
Well, I didn't know there was an alley back there.
Can I make one request, just one request on these presentations, to include a satellite map?
I'm sorry?
Include a satellite map so we can get the geographic view of it on the, just,
Oh, of the greater area?
yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't
I pulled
have
up the
that.
phone and all, but
That's what I say.
it helps give some perspective on the whole property.
Yeah.
We got the 1928 map, but,
Yeah, this is most I have.
yeah, that's fine.
I think it was requesting really for more for the future.
Yeah, I understand.
Any other questions for Stephen? What is the,
I move we approve
Sorry.
adopt the resolution of intent number 721 or 04-2023 to permanently close the public right-of-way.
And schedule the public hearing.
Schedule a public hearing for April the whatever next meeting. Thank you, sir. April 4th.
all right, thank you, Dr. Barber. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Stephen.
I'd like to correct myself. I found the map you provided.
All right, at this time, we'll move on to business item number 2, the Shrike boiler replacement. And Gary Johnson, if you will, please.
Mayor Pro Tem and council, during the past year's budget session, we worked with the Johnston County Public Schools in a plan to replace the boilers out at the aquatic center. One of them is down completely and the other one is on its last leg. The public school system is responsible for they maintain the mechanicals over at the aquatic center per the joint use agreement. Being the lead on this project, we were given a projected cost of $140,000, which included a 20% contingency. Our share would have been $70,000. They worked with the engineering firm Progressive Design Collaborative, PDC, to design and engineer the project. After it was designed, PDC sent out bids. They had a pre-bid construction meeting out at the aquatic center, and they received 5 bids back to replace the boilers, with the lowest coming in at $298.04. which was $75,000 more than we had allocated for our share. We're requesting the additional funds, and the manager is recommending it come out of general fund contingency, which would leave a balance of $134,530. These boilers are used to heat the building, they're used to heat the water, and they're used for dehumidification in the swimming pool and other parts of the building as well, so the building can't run without them.
Mr. Johnson, when were these things last replaced? I remember something about that.
These have never been replaced. These
Okay.
were installed in the original building. These were part of the original construction.
So this is not for the pool?
No. Well, it's part of it's not the pool heaters in which you're referring to.
What's the life expectancy on this equipment?
15 to 20 years. The ones that were put in were new design back when the building was constructed, and they've gone back to a more true and tried design for the replacements. They are in a harsh environment, and they run constantly, not just during the winter, but also year-round.
Just had one question on this. So there are 2 boilers in the building now, and one of them is completely
One of them is down, yeah.
How long has it been down?
Probably 6 months. But we knew this was in process, so we didn't, and it will operate on one boiler, but it's pushing it. So they've got the design, they're taking it to the Board of Education at their next meeting, and then they'll move forward with the construction once both boards approve it.
And this is to replace both boilers?
Both boilers, correct.
Thank you.
We really have little options here. I mean, I don't think, sometimes I think we have an option. We really don't have an option to keep our facility running. You have to do what you have to do to keep your facility running. So,
When do they think this will be done, or when's the project gonna start?
June is the hope. It's probably a 8-week lead time on the equipment. Sort of hoping to do it June.
That's the end of our fiscal year. I mean, we can't plan for it we're cutting down, if we have a disaster, it leaves our contingency $134,000. I know we have the reserve fund, but that's just one of my concerns. And I agree with Councilman Barber, this is something that we kind of have to do, but this is important right here that we plan this stuff. And I know you can't predict a boiler going bad, but if it's been down 6 months,
Well, this has been the process to replace them has been in place longer than that. I mean,
well, then we should have had it in our budget
well,
this year.
we did. We had
70,000 in the
We had
budget.
70,000 based on the quote that they had given us.
that crap, I'm sorry.
I don't believe it, but that's fine.
I'm just saying if we can go back and look at the police department expansion, look how ridiculous that is. None of us would have believed that would happen, but it did. So here we are.
What other things have we allocated out of our contingency, Mr. Scott? Is this a pretty solid number?
Yeah, that's exact number. I have a list in my office of everything we've allocated. We started out with about 250,000. So with this, we haven't spent a whole lot until this $75,000 expenditure. So it's been minimal stuff. There's a couple pickup trucks that the Parks and Rec ran over on. We added money to that. I'm trying to think what else there was. There was another $10,000 item, but it's been small stuff so far.
Yeah, and, I realize the town's responsible for 50% of it after that initial cost. That's $300,000. That's a lot of money. But I understand the need.
Anything else for Gary? All right, if not, what is the determination of the board?
I recommend we approve the additional funds in the amount of $75,152 for the replacement of the boilers at the SRAC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right. Since we're at number 3 on the business item, do you want to briefly discuss the planning for the budget?
I
Or
can.
do you want to move this to the last item.
It'd be easier to do the budget on the last item, but you can do it however you prefer.
That's fine, Councilman. Just move that one now. I just had a couple questions
Yeah,
about it.
okay. All right. And let's see. The scoreboard. All right.
Page
so number
97.
7. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, item number 3 then on the business is the SSS scoreboard repair. We were approached recently by the high school. They have what is a fairly new scoreboard on what I determine is the northwest end of the football field. It is a very large scoreboard. We had some heavy wind, I believe it was last fall, that hit this scoreboard and twisted it a bit. And there's some issues that the high school has with, the design and the construction and some of the work that was done there and what was the cause. But in the end, the scoreboard needs to be righted. The cost of the entire uprighting of the scoreboard and fixing it to engineering standards is $6,200. They asked if we could assist them in any way with that. Felt it prudent to try to help them pay for half of that. That way, if they wanted to go out and ask someone else for the other half or do it themselves, that seemed reasonable. We have an extra $1,000 in our non-departmental budget now for school use that was to be allocated to the ALA charter school, but since they didn't annex into the city due to no fault of their own, we have that money, so we would need an extra $2,100 if we wanted to equate this figure. But I'm sure the high school would be happy with anything that the council wanted to assist with this project.
Can I ask a question? So insurance wouldn't cover this since it was damaged by, it looked like it would be part of insurance, because like anything else, wind damage would be considered, wouldn't it?
I asked the same thing, and they said that under the circumstances, it would not, so that's all I know.
Do you know if they, and I appreciate you discussing this with us, I support our schools totally, but my concern is that Smithfield Selma High School, is Selma contributing to this project?
I do not know, but that's one reason I felt that we would only do half of the project. If they wanted to go ask Selma for the other half, they could do that. That would be
Or do it in thirds, perhaps, whatever.
And we can do that too. If that, like I said, the high school will be happy with whatever we could provide. There was other expenses already beyond the 6,100. 6,100 or 6,200 is what is left. The project itself was closer to 9,000, and they've already put additional engineering work and construction work into trying to right it. So the high school's already paid some funds themselves. So that's where I came up with the figure.
So you said that $1,000 could come out of the non-department for the other nonprofits?
Well, we have a line item in our non-departmental budget for school assistance.
Understood.
And there's an extra $1,000 in there that won't be spent this year.
So the additional $2,100 would come from the contingency?
It could come from contingency, that's one place. It's very likely that we'll have excesses in other areas of the budget and could be moved there during the year-end budget amendments without getting into contingency. But that is one spot that it could come from if that was what the council wanted to do.
I know I was sitting in a county AD meeting the other day, and after I got my packet, I kind of ran this by our county AD. I almost had the same concerns that Councilman Scott had. I mean, looking at two towns, and here we are pitching in, knowing the fact that, we did allocate them money at the beginning of our budget cycle, $1,000, $2,000. Because as soon as this passes, we're going to get another request from Smithfield Middle School, because they're going to be wanting something. Smithfield Middle School is Smithfield. We don't know if Selma's going to contribute or anything, so we're going to start opening up, if we're going to do for one. Here again, this is Smithfield Selma, but then we're going to have Smithfield Middle. They're gonna be wanting some money for some items over there also. We've gone through the budget cycle, and so, what are we gonna do? I mean,
Is the project ongoing?
They were trying to get the project up and running before the baseball season hit.
I just had a question. If this is county property, obviously, and the county maintains all the other facilities out there, why isn't the county paying for this repair?
I don't have an answer for that.
that was, my question was in the county AD meeting, talking to our county athletic director, you know, this shouldn't be on the town of Smithfield, it's county, and so I didn't get an answer either.
We're certainly under no obligation to assist with this. It's just a request.
I mean, I don't have an issue, but I'm just, you know, if we're gonna do for one, I mean, with issues like this, I mean, that's my only concern.
I mean, we partner with the county on certain things such as the Shrike, and that just, obviously, we're committed to that. I think we need to support the high school, but I think ultimately this is the county's responsibility. Just my 2 cents on it.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'll make a motion. It may not get a second, but I think it's fair. If we have an extra $1,000 that's budgeted, that we move to give that and let them seek the additional funding from
Town of Sill.
others, and or bring it back to us for consideration, I think would be appropriate.
All right, have a motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Hang on here.
I'll vote in favor of it.
All right,
I got to vote.
motion passes.
$1,000.
Clerk, did you get that $1,000 that we have budgeted and seeking other funding, and they can bring it back to us? We obviously want to help them, but I just think we need to, we've got other priorities in this town.
Can we also, I think it would be appropriate for the town of Smithfield, though, to have the manager contact the Johnson County Schools and let them know our concerns that a school in Smithfield is not being repaired by the county when it should be their responsibility. I think that's a consensus that we all kind of have, that this should be the county's responsibility, and that they're having to go out and beg and borrow money to do something that should be covered with the taxpayers in Johnson County and in Smithfield. They should be fixing the equipment that's at our schools. I mean, you know, that just, really rubs me raw sometimes, so just let you know that too. But it's not a fault of Triple S. You know, I mean, they're doing the best they can, but I think it's unfair that they're requested to have to go out and find the straw to build their brick with, you know?
I agree.
But I would recommend that something come from the town manager notifying them that we are concerned that they're not, that this is an issue that they should have had covered and should never have come to
Come to
us.
us, right?
I don't think so.
I mean, we're willing to help, but they should have taken care of the issue, and we're not happy about that. They come up here and ask us to support a funding to help fund the grant money to pay for these schools. Did they not? Come out here and beg us to help us support that program, and then our schools just need a little bit of money to spend to fix the sign back up, and we got to come up with the money to pay for it. Sorry, jerks me.
All right.
But I recommend that. I mean, do we need a motion for that, or are you going to take care of
No,
that?
I can take care of that.
All right, thank you, sir. I just want to make sure they know our concern.
Yes, sir.
So what just passed?
We didn't make a mess on that. $1,000.
$1,000.
It was already in the
It was
budget.
already in the budget, so we didn't have to take anything out we didn't already spend. Already allocate. But really, to Marlon's point, we shouldn't have had to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Manager, if you will, take up business item 3,
Oh, sure.
the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. In front of you, you should have a draft budget that the manager and staff have put together. It is a balanced budget. It is a starting point only. It is not the manager's proposed budget that is required by statute. This is just a draft budget. starting point for budget discussions. On the agenda tonight, we have a item in the business item to discuss the budget. Short of explaining the draft that you have in front of you, the item is there so that if the council so chooses, they can recess tonight's meeting to a date and time certain and hold their first budget workshop, which we will start out discussing the format of the draft budget as well as revenues and the utility enterprise funds.
All right. What is your timeline as far as when you wanted to?
Well, I'm ready tomorrow.
I don't think that's going to work.
But no, we have moved this process ahead. Usually, we're asking for this in April. Last year, you might recall, we ran into June a little late. Our hope is that we can organize meetings and have these discussions ahead of June so that we're in a better position to approve the final budget at the June public hearing or nearabouts, barring, things that may come up that are just unforeseen. So we would like to meet as soon as and often as possible, and staff is ready to do that. So
What about Tuesday, March 14th?
Can't do it.
Wednesday, March 15th?
Can't do Wednesdays ever. How about Thursday, the 16th? That's my first available date.
That works.
That,
Good.
Steve?
I'll try. Wait.
Martin?
We'll just plan to adjourn this session. once we
Recess.
complete-
6:30, 6 o'clock,
Recess.
what time?
6:30? Typically what time we've been trying to do it.
I think that works better for the mayor. I think he,
Yep.
6:30. And if that's a conflict, perhaps we could revisit that. Should we pick an alternate date? You guys want to look at the next week just in case? Just an idea.
Next Thursday, I couldn't.
He's very considerate last time for everyone. I think it's important we seek his feedback.
And if the council so desires, we don't have to recess this meeting. We can adjourn it, and with 2 days' notice, we can provide to the community when our next meeting's going to be. So we can have a special meeting, we just have to have 48-hour notice to the community prior to doing that. So it's easy to recess and just move on, but if scheduling is difficult, we can just adjourn tonight, and y'all can get together, or we can ask Shannon to send out a doodle poll to everybody, and then we can decide, and we can
We did have two.
create
people.
a special meeting.
Yeah, Roger.
We did have two people out.
That's what
Yeah,
the
and-
mayor
and-
out and Roger out, so it might not work for them, so.
And maybe we do the doodle poll for the next couple of months. So then we have an idea of what so we can do multiple meetings. I like the fact they're getting started earlier. It seems like last year for some reason it was like I know we did stuff, but there was too many stuff came up, conflicts and with everybody, and it seemed like we didn't really, at the end, we had to struggle to get them. I wasn't even here on the night of vote, I think.
You sure won't.
But, so maybe that's the key, would be just to adjourn, and then
That's fine.
that way we would know for sure. That we don't have to ask Andy, we wouldn't know if the mayor was able to be here or not, and him.
All right, that takes care of that segment. At this time, council members' comments.
I have one comment. I'll be very brief. Regarding the street surfacing, I know that's a huge burden for the town, and we have lots of needs. My question is, and this is something we can talk more about in budget, but I would love has the staff considered, historically, we've just milled and repaved or patched some little thing. My question is have we looked at getting ahead of that in preventive maintenance, like seal coating the cracks, to preserve the roads longer, would be my question. If some of them's too far gone, it's irrelevant.
Right.
But I'm just curious if we've looked at that.
Lawrence is here. I'll let him answer those questions, his area and his expertise, so. And he's always happy to come up and address the council.
Yes, we are trying to be proactive with that situation. We have crack seal Mill Street recently. Matter of fact, we had to send off the crack sealing machine to get fixed. So we are being proactive. With the mill machines, it takes a certain, well, actually, it takes a certain degrees to get everything going. So in the summertime, I made it my business to make sure that we address some of these issues that we're having. Also with the trees that's growing in there and the asphalt, we're trying to make it our business to repair those cuts. I don't know if you saw those, but we have been trying to be proactive with the streets.
So, and Lawrence, thank you so much. I know you have a large task with the town. Perhaps planning for budget, if, you know, it's a staffing thing, even if we have to contract that service, it could save us a lot of money in the future if we can preserve the roads a little longer. I just wanted to see what y'all's thoughts were on that. That was the whole point of, so I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely.
Yeah, and I'll make a note of that too, Councilman Scott, to make sure that it does come up for discussion during the Public Works discussion.
Obviously, when the surface gets so deteriorated, it's
Right.
not going to make any difference.
Right.
I think the purpose of it, if you can seal it before it freezes and pushes it apart further, a lot of towns do it. But thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I got a few. I'd like to ask Mr. Manager, was there any closeout to the CBDG grant that was going on over in East Smithfield from Skip Green? What was the final, I mean?
It's still ongoing. We actually are finalizing 2 homes that were complete rebuilds. So they've been torn down to the foundations taken up. There's going to be 2 total rebuild, brand-new homes. And that's the process that we're in right now. We hope to have, I believe those are like 90-day homes for construction timelines. So probably midsummer, we should be prepared to close out that grant.
All right, thanks. And this is the last one. Just kind of want to ask Gary just a little bit. Of course, everybody's over near Smith Collins and the splash pad. Has definitely been using the walking trail. Is there any way we can just do like a ceremonial ribbon cutting or something just to get, you know, all the folks out, you know, just to come out one day, possibly hand out some waters or whatever, because they are using it. It is being used, but just to definitely let everybody know that it is open. And the only concern I am kind of seeing now is, you know, people are coming out there with their dogs, and their dogs are not on leashes and stuff, and you got kids over there playing and stuff, and that's not safe. I actually saw that today. Okay.
And once we get the splash pad completed, do it
Do it all at one time? So we're looking at May?
Yeah, that's May.
Memorial Day weekend, I think, is, yeah. Councilman Lee, I will also say that Lawrence and his group, and as well as Gary's staff, been working to try to clean up the pond area that trail goes around. There's a lot of trash and overgrowth there, so we're working hard to try to get that cleaned up. And once we get that cleaned up, that's going to be a whole lot nicer project. That'd be a good time, too, to have what you're describing.
Okay.
We don't want to encourage people to be there after dark.
I got you.
Anything else from the council? If not, Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I don't have a whole lot. In line with what we were just discussing about the trash and things, we do have our annual litter sweep scheduled for April 22nd. So that'll be an opportunity for our community to come out and come together and try to pick up trash that's gathered throughout the community over the winter months. So please put that on your calendar and be prepared to come out and help us out. There'll be more information forthcoming on that. Also, in April, we just had the father-daughter dance. We're going to have the mother-son dance on April 29th at the Shrek. So put your calendar to work on that as well.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, while you're giving out the dates, I'm sorry. We're going to do an Easter egg hunt over at Smith Collins on April 8th. We're going to do an Easter egg hunt from 10 to 2. We're going to eggs, and also we're going to cook out hot dogs and give away drinks and snacks. So that'll be April 8th from 10 to 2, Smith Collins Park.
Thank you,
I
sir.
think Brian we have a flyer. I think Brian was going to start sharing it on the town. Sorry about that.
No problem. Appreciate you mentioning it. In reference to open houses, again, we're expecting our water plant to be completed in the very near future, probably within the next 30 days. We're still finalizing the berm and the landscaping, as well as adding the additional new path that's going to take place and go around the raw water tank. But once we get that done, we do plan on having some sort of open house there for the community to come see the investment that's been made in the water plant and come out and see how it operates and walk through the facility. So we don't have a date yet. As soon as we get it all together, probably within the next 45 days, we'll be scheduling that and inviting the public out to see the new facility and the additions and what it can do for our community in the future. The only other announcement I have is we received a few months ago a $3.8 million economic development grant, large grant for a sewer outfall line and pump station upgrade in West Smithfield. That plan for that is nearing completion, so you're going to start seeing construction probably within the next 30 days on that moving as well. So very good news for that, especially in line with all the problems we see today with supply chains and whatnot. So looking forward to that. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Manager. If there's nothing else at this time, we will adjourn the meeting.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you. Second, anyone?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.